Yeah, so I started out in crime prevention and then I moved to investigating child abuse and neglect for several years. I was super passionate about that. I had already had a college degree, but I also was certified as a law enforcement officer. So I moved over to the police department, quickly found myself in the role of a detective. So uh, I, I was instantly passionate about it. I was at Children's Services, and it carried over. So I recall treating my road cases. So I would have just a minor case, whether it's a car stop or unlocking somebody's car. I was always looking for what else is there. Like who's this child in the back seat? Why is this person crying? What is happening here? Building relationships with people was super important to me, and kind of changing how people view police officers. And I've always had that spark of energy related to investigation. So I I am way over 1,000 sex offenses. That's my specialty. Um, and child abuse as well as violent crime. So it's kind of been my niche.
This is the first time I ever got to work with a female police officer. So right off the bat, I was fascinated, interested. Actually, Kim, the way that there was something about the way that she was not confrontational. She was extremely, she really, I felt that she really knew how to elicit answers from someone by making them comfortable, making them feel that they were not being interrogated. There was a certain comfort level that was created by Kim that I think is what made this interview actually happen. I think that, I've seen in the past officers who are really sort of, I am the police and you are the bad guy. And she really took the time to sort of get to know who this person was and feel out, what made him tick so that she could make him comfortable enough to open up to her. And I thought that was fascinating.
Generally, in my interviews, I like to do a little background. I like to try to type someone's personality. I like to know what's going on with that person, the dynamics, their family, their work, their strengths, their weaknesses. I like to know that. I don't always have that opportunity. Sometimes the interviews are immediate. Sometimes interviews are what we call a dry interview, where you really know nothing. In this case, I was called in to interview the victim who had survived, and he was in another room. He had said a little bit, but it wasn't going too well. So I was asked to go in and talk about what the female victim I had just interviewed, ask about the dynamics of that situation. But then my captain said, could you also see if he knows anything about our missing women? We had 2 missing women. They were not, didn't know each other. One wasn't even from our area. But when I went in, I had no chance to prepare. I just walked out of the room from one interview and was told to go in the other room. So my style comes naturally for me. I live my life. I live with empathy. I feel it. And I think that's been my best friend in interviews. As a matter of fact, Sean Great talked to me about my empathy and how I treated him. And he told me that made him feel comfortable. For me, I can view anyone as a child. I can look at someone who's sexually assaulted a 4-year-old. And as I'm looking at them, I'm almost having a conversation with myself, like wondering, how did this happen? How can you go from being a little boy to this? So I've been very interested in what makes people tick, what makes people move to this place. So for him, I walked in. I generally don't raise my voice. I'm a female. The physicality of my job is on the forefront of my mind, generally, unless I get tunnel visioned and go forward when I shouldn't. But I was not confrontational. It's not my style. I know when I've had to turn it up, but in an interview setting, generally, it's more about learning about that person as you're talking to find what makes them tick. What's the one thing that is so important to that person? I have to know, did they hit rock bottom? Is this their rock bottom? Have they hit rock bottom before? Do they have children? How do they feel? What gets their emotions going? So I find that if I can be myself, talk like I would to anyone else, I have to tell myself sometimes ahead of time or even during, you talk to this person like you're talking to anyone, because sometimes outside of that crime, they act like just you and me. But those things happen. There's a difference there. So me just being myself, approaching everything with empathy, and trying to be ahead of someone, which is so difficult. They've spent years and years trying to hide what they did, trying to rationalize what they did, coming up with their stories of what they're going to say just for that moment. I know a lot of times we prepare for something for that very moment. I am that very moment. I'm the one sitting there in front of them. This is the moment when someone's confronting them about what they had done. And in his case, he didn't know what I knew, and I certainly didn't know what he knew. For him, that piece wasn't difficult because, at that intimate moment where you're about to talk about the worst things in your life, there's that internal why. He's wondering why he did what he did. And through that, things come out like family for him, his family, how he felt like his relationship with his mother had deteriorated. I'm not sure that it deteriorated. I'm not sure that it ever existed. So the lack of the mother, a lot of people talk about, the absent dad is the cause of so much. And I absolutely believe that. I absolutely believe that. But I'll tell you what, you can impact your child immensely as a mom. So he was very negative about his mother, and that was apparent from the onset. And when someone gives that of themselves, when they say something like that to you, when they give that first little tidbit about something that's a breakdown, so they're opening up, they're giving me a little something. How I handle that piece of information, which almost becomes, it isn't, but it almost becomes tangible because it's words, it's been said. So when you take that piece of information that's given, the slightest nuance can shut someone down. So I find I'm interested in that piece. So I don't have to fake it. I don't have to fake concerning eyes or just the slightest thing. So I am hyper aware in interviews that I could cause someone to shut down by one thing that I do wrong. One thing. In his case, if anyone calls him a liar or insinuates that he is lying, he's done. I watched other people try to interview him. If he gets treated like he's lying, he shuts down. So it put me in a tough spot because there's a lot of things through the interview that might not be from his perspective a lie, but it's not true. So trying to get that out was difficult, and it took building a relationship with him for me to be able to confront those things when he would do them, because there's a relationship there, I could get by with more. So he's calculating, he's full of thought. He has thought these things out, and intelligent, way far beyond how he may sound when he's upset.
I think the most important part of this book for me was anytime that I work with somebody and I'm going to be telling their story, I need to know who they are. So at the beginning of this process, I went to Ohio and I actually met with Kim, and she took me all around, and that was incredible. I mean, she was incredible. I literally felt like I had met my sister from another mother. It was very strange. We really hit it off, and I felt very comfortable telling her story because I felt like I knew who she was. I knew where she was. I understood the venue. I understood, I was a beat reporter in New York. So we're talking about, like, getting into an elevator, going up to someone's door, knocking on their door, 80 people come out of the hallway, it's like a whole different thing when you're a crime reporter in New York. this is, really rural America, and there are thousands of places to hide. So Kim kind of explained to me, and I felt like it was really important that I see and understand that, for example, and I'll just give you an example as a city girl going out to the country. We went into like a local, I don't even know, a market, I guess you would call it, to get a coffee and a sandwich. And there were guys in there, everybody's in their orange vests with their guns because it was hunting season. And so, I'm in there, Miss New York. Now, I've never even seen a gun up close out in, they don't carry outside carry here. And we've got everybody's got a gun. Everybody's wearing these yellow or orange vests. And I'm thinking to myself, wow, so I really, I had to learn about the place, and that was fascinating to me, but also, just being with Kim and seeing how she interacted with people. Everyone in the town knew her. Everyone in the town liked her. Everyone in the town said hello to her, asked about her children, asked about her family. So there was a real camaraderie there, and she was very trusted. As I was reading all of these transcripts, I had questions. I had so many questions that I wanted to ask him. And I was so pleased because as I was reading, Kim would ask the question that I was thinking. Okay, like, well, but what, so it was really interesting to follow the interview and to see how when she asked them. Like, I would have just blurted them all out to him, and she there was definitely a method to her madness as to how she let it unfold. What really surprised me was the detail and the sort of grisly part of the story. The fact that he had this woman in the house that he was holding hostage, and that there were two dead bodies, one in the upstairs closet and the other one in the basement, to me was beyond anything I could imagine chilling. And as you're reading, you could see Kim is completely and totally even in her tone. Oh, like, let's talk about the dead body in the closet, So the fact that he was also so nonchalant about it, the fact that he really didn't see that this was absolutely beyond grisly. He described at one point how he took this woman who he had in his basement, and sort of he had people at his house, and he was having do you remember this, Kim? He was having
Yes, I do.
he was having a cookout in the backyard, and all these people were coming over, and he's trying to hide this dead body inside the house. So he's telling people not to use this back door, to go around to the front, so nonchalantly, so unworried about it, as if this is completely normal. So there was something extremely grisly about the fact that there was no panic in this man, and the way he was telling it was just so matter of fact. And it made me, I am convinced, as is Kim, that these are not the only people that he's killed.